In this quick video, I'm going to break down the hot DM system and why it works so incredibly well to book qualified calls every single day. So if you're someone who's just starting out your online business, you're trying to book your first sales calls, get your first clients, this will work incredibly well. Or if you're just someone who's looking for a more consistent, predictable system to sign clients without running ads, this is a system for you. So I've really built something I've never seen anyone else do before. This will work for every niche. Works whether you have just 0 followers, you're just starting out, or if you do have 1 million followers, then awesome. And also this can be set up to run on autopilot. So for us right now in our my company acquisition pilot, this system right now is running right now as we speak on autopilot with me obviously just filming this video. I'm not actively running the system myself. So we're booking calls literally every single day without me lifting a finger, which is pretty cool. We automatically disqualify leads while using the system, so we don't have to manually disqualify and stuff, which is pretty cool as well. Based on our data, you can acquire clients for as little as $0. You can run the system for completely free if you want to. There are some systems or some VAs you can hire if you want to completely automate the system 100%. You can do that as well. You should still be acquire clients for $100, $200. Highest I've seen is $500. But honestly, it should be near that $0 to $200 mark for acquiring a new client for your business. This is scalable. This is scalable about to 100 to 200K a month. Anywhere around that point, like somewhere around this point, you will probably run into bottlenecks just with DM limits. It can get quite hard around that point. So it is scalable, but for most people, this should be enough to hit your goals. But for other people who do want to hit like $1 million months, for example, you're going to need to tack on another funnel as well if you want to scale beyond that. The unique thing about this, you've probably received hundreds of DMs yourself. The vast majority of them you don't reply to. The way that we do it that's unique is we build goodwill with everyone. So we're always building positive goodwill. It's very unique in how we do it, but let's go ahead. I'll just kind of show you the inside of how it looks and what it actually looks like. So let's go ahead and open this up. So you're going to see here's a bunch of crazy stuff. So let's break down like what the system actually looks like. So this is what it looks like. There's 4 main steps here. So the first one is the outbound steps. This is the initial message that we're sending out. All right, so we send that out. Next step is a pause reply. So once they pause reply, they move to stage 2. Once they pause reply, we move them to stage 3, which is Calendly sent. So we send them our calendar to book a call with us. And they obviously book a call. All right, those are the 4 main stages of the system. And you can see all these other things that are, FUM1, FUM2, those mean follow-up messages. All right, so you're probably instantly seeing this. You're like, holy crap, like this looks insane. This looks super hard. This looks super aggressive. I'll show you why this works so well and why people actually love it. We got so many positive comments about this. So I'll show you how that works. The last kind of like bonus stage of the system is what we call Spear. So Spear is a special follow-up campaign that we run to anyone who reaches at least stage 2, but they don't convert into a client. All right, and the Spear, it works out so well. It's kind of like, once you've been running this for a while, it's kind of like, a special campaign you run once per month to sign, client or 2 or 3, depending on how big your list is, just like that, just like clockwork every single month. So if you want an influx of clients, you're just like, okay, time to run a Spear campaign, and you can get that influx right away. So that's the hot DM system overall, like what it looks like on a basic level, but here's a magic behind it. Here's why this works so well. All right, so we use the law of reciprocity. All right, so I'm sure if you haven't heard this, Robert Cialdini in his book Influence, he writes about this. One of the most powerful persuasion triggers in the world is reciprocity. All right, if someone does something kind for you, you feel compelled to do something kind for them, or at least give them time of day. All right, so how we do this is we give them free value. All right, we give them something actually incredibly valuable for free. All right, very important. It's actually valuable. Like it can't just be slop. It can't just be something that's really bad. It's not actually helpful. Like it has to be truly helpful for them. And when you do this, when someone does something truly helpful for you, you're compelled to, at the very least, say thank you, like at a bare minimum. But what this also does, you build trust with them. If someone like does something valuable for you, like, oh wow, this guy's awesome. And so we give them free value. This builds trust. And then at this point, there's really 2 outcomes from here. All right, if they're a good fit for our services, they're probably going to book a call with us. All right, if they're not, we have positive word of mouth. All right, so this leads to positive word of mouth, potential referrals. So there's no negative outcomes here when we do this correctly. That's the law of reciprocity. That's the power behind this. It's just we're building goodwill with everyone. It's also a long-term game as well. More on that in a second here. But 2 outcomes of doing this, which is awesome. Like they book a call or there's positive word of mouth. So there's like no negative outcomes when we do the system correctly. All right. Second thing here, follow-up is king. So you'll see we have all these, tons amounts of follow-ups. You're probably thinking this is insane, but I'll show you why this is essential and why you're going to book like, I would say like 10 to 20x more calls when you do this compared to not doing this, because no one does this. No one does follow-ups. At least people who do follow-up as well, they do it the wrong way. All right, so here's why follow-up is king. All right, 3 reasons. Number 1, there's a vanishing buying window. All right, so what does this mean? So I'll give you an example. So let's say, husband and wife are sitting down to watch a movie, and there's, some chiseled actor. He's got the 6-pack, he's got abs, he's got muscle and everything. The wife makes a small comment like, "Whoa, look at those abs." The husband looks down at his belly, all this, flabs, and he instantly, feels this moment of pain, of course. Feels insecure, feels pain. He has all these, thoughts and fears running through his mind. Does my wife still like me? Is she still attracted to me? Is she going to cheat on me? All these things run through his mind. And so what happens at this moment, it's a moment of pain or trauma, and a buying window opens up. All right, a window where this guy right here, he's receptive to purchasing a solution for his problem, purchasing a solution for his pain. All right, that's a buying window. But the thing is, pain subsides. Pain goes away. Pain just simply leaks over time. And so what happens is the window only lasts for so long. All right, it could be a week, could be 2 weeks, but at a certain point in time, if there's no new pain that comes up, this guy's just going to forget about it and move on with his life. All right, so there's that vanishing buying window. So what this means is we always want to be the person that's there with follow-up. We don't know when that pain is going to hit, when that moment of pain is going to be there. And so we always want to be there with the follow-up. And so that's why we do all this intensive follow-up and the spear campaigns. All right, this works incredibly well because you're going to be the person they buy from when that pain hits. Number 2 is mere exposure effect. All right, so this is a psychological tendency for people to just like people who they're exposed to more. All right, Sam Ovens has this funny quote. I think he says something like, "You just like your parents because they've served you a lot of impressions." All right, I thought it was funny. All right, but basically what this means is I think a lot of times your friends are really just the people who you're exposed to a lot of times. It could be people you went to school with, you obviously saw them every day. Maybe people that you work with, you see them every day again. But just who you're exposed to, and you just tend to like them. It's just the mere exposure effect. And so the same principle is what we're playing here. All right, when we follow up, 2 times, 7 times, and when we do spirit campaigns, we're just serving them a ton of impressions, and they tend to like you more. When you do it correctly, when you don't do it obviously in a standoffish way, we do it in a funny way. We add some humor to it. We actually also add some more value to it. All right, so we're using the law of reciprocity. We're giving free value, or we're throwing some jokes or some memes and stuff. We do it in a cool way. And the last thing here is the rule of 7. So there's just studies on this where it shows on average for someone to actually convert, they need 7 touch points. 7 touch points for the average lead to actually convert. All right, that's a rule of 7. All right, and so that's also average as well. So half of people actually need more than 7 touch points. All right, so if you just think about this by itself, most people, you're probably watching this, you might never follow up ever, or you might send 1 or 2. And so the vast majority of leads, at least 9% of leads you're missing out on, you're not converting them because you're not executing the follow-ups. All right, so when we do this correctly, they all lead to just more book calls. An absurd amount of way more book calls when you do this correctly. All right, so that's really the key here. That's why this works so well. What we do for our private clients as well is we give them exact templates in terms of, hey, what to say here, what to say here, what to say here. How do you actually create something that's extremely valuable? How to book calls, really everything A to Z in terms of the scripting, just because we've tested so much. To dates, I don't have the exact number off the top of my head, but I know I've booked thousands of sales calls just for my personal businesses using this system right here. So it's insanely powerful. Literally books us calls every single day to this date. I've been running it for probably 5 years or so, but it's a beast. So if you want help installing this system in your business, then go ahead and click the link below. There should be a link to actually book a call with myself or my team to talk more about how this works, and obviously if it will help you in your business and hit the revenue goals that you want to hit. So that's the video. Hope this was helpful, and I'll see you in the next one.